Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WOWBiz, Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. New is now. All right, we're going to be talking about that. Thanks for watching WOWBiz, Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker with my good friend and commentator, Bruce Arendt.
Lynn.
Thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to be talking about newness and how it relates to the entire state of Nebraska. It'll be a very interesting topic for you, I think.
Okay.
Yes. But new is always fascinating in the world of marketing, particularly, you know, new and different and so on. And I just think it has tremendous importance. And then I'm going to actually ask you to kind of be a devil's advocate here, okay?
Easy.
That'd be an easy thing for you to do, wouldn't it? All right. So here's the deal. I want to talk to you a little bit about what will precede this. And we're talking right now about a regional initiative, a statewide initiative. We talked about it months ago.
Right.
Yes, called Nebraska.
Nebraska, I remember
Nebraska, that's right. And you like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool little word spin.
Right.
But since then, I've had the opportunity to dig into it really deeply. But I want to go back and talk with you about something you and I are of the age that we can recall this. And this was the Pepsi versus Coke. I guess it would basically be an advertising battle or war.
Yeah.
I think it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And maybe extended into the 80s.
They were always kind of head to head.
For market share.
For market share.
Absolutely. So what was happening, as you recall, is the Coke, of course, was the dominant player, the lead brand.
Right.
And Pepsi was hammering them in all kinds of different ways, coming at them from promotional and retail angle, whatever they could do to try to get more users. And they just couldn't get it done, right? And so it's a very interesting psychological thing. Positioning, this is, by the way, when the book Positioning came out. I don't know if you know. But anyway, so they said, well, tell you what we'll do. We'll cede to Coke and their brand managers. We'll say, okay, you are the dominant players in the industry.
Okay.
You are the traditional winners. Nobody can usurp that position. But our brand is for the new, young drinkers.
The Pepsi generation.
The Pepsi generation.
I remember that.
Yes. And it was very confrontational, but they had the perfect, how could Coke battle that against that?
Because
what could they say?
Everybody who was drinking Pepsi on the commercials was young and cool and
attractive.
Yeah, they had hair.
Yes. It was really something. And it was fun to watch them go at it because week after week on TV, you would see it interpreted this basic idea. So, and you know what they say, you know, there's a neuro-linguistic programming. NLP is kind of an interesting little genre of behavioral change.
Right.
And they use this phrase, reframing. I'm going to say that correctly, reframing.
Okay.
Marketing industry calls it repositioning, but reframing is really thinking about something differently.
With a different frame of mind.
Different frame of mind, putting a different frame on it. It's almost like, you know, we watch all the political debates going on right now.
Right.
And somebody hones in on one issue, could be healthcare, or could be, you know, international affairs and problems, but they're trying to reframe the viability of the candidate within the context that they're creating.
Okay.
Right, okay. Now, so back to the Coke and Pepsi thing. Clearly Pepsi was a winner there. I'm thinking about the state of Nebraska. I'm thinking about the fact that we lose 3,000 young, smart college graduates every year.
Yeah, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody at the Unicameral said just recently, he was kind of counting it in a different way. He said, we lost 24,000 people last year. That would have been 2019. Now, don't ask me exactly how he was counting it, but nevertheless.
It sounds serious, though.
It's very serious, and it's been going on. I'm kind of proud of the fact that I know this. Since March of 2002, that's when I began watching the state of Nebraska struggle with the perception, reputation, and these young folks in particular leaving.
That's when the shift started?
That's when it started. Yeah, 2002.
What was the impetus?
Pardon me?
What was the impetus? What started it? What caused it?
Well, we're going to talk about that right now.
Okay,
I mean, this is the issue. You talk to these young people, and nobody has ever done this before. I went to Lincoln, Nebraska. I put some effort into getting some people that were graduates or were graduating from UNL. Mm-hmm. I got them to agree to go to Starbucks on O Street and meet with me. And I conducted an informal focus group with these young folks. And I bought them all a cup of coffee, and they were fine.
Right, right.
And we went round, and I said, you know, why are you leaving? Yes. I think I'm leaving. My bags are packed. I'm leaving. I said, you all grew up here? Oh yeah, I came from Gering and Wayne and da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, love Nebraska, grew up, great family. But you're leaving. They said, yeah, oh yeah. Huh. And I said, now come on, come clean with me. What's up? Why are you leaving? And they looked like, are you crazy? They said, you know, what we're looking for, we're raised in digital, this is the digital world.
Right.
And there's all kinds of incredible apps and new products and things that are happening, alliances. People are forming relationships with little businesses in China, for Pete's sake, you know. But that doesn't seem to be happening here in Nebraska. At least that was their perception. I'm sure there are many
But there's
exceptions.
nothing going on
Well, there isn't anything new.
New going on, okay.
A lot of very successful companies in this state, no doubt about it, and
Right.
wonderful people and hardworking and profitable.
Right.
But here's the thing, and you talked about complacency once a few weeks ago when we chatted. You get to a certain point, don't you? Mm-hmm. And you kind of repeat the formula.
Right. You just kind of wash and rinse and repeat.
Right. And as long as it's profitable, you can justify that.
Yeah.
But really, the success becomes first a routine, and then it becomes a prison.
Yeah.
You know, and you see these executives, and they're sitting behind the desk, and they're doing the same thing this year as they were doing a year ago. Same thing. And these are young people. They're ambitious. They want to get in front of the crowd, you know, in front of the line or whatever. And their attitude, there's just not a lot happening in the business sector here. Not a lot of cool jobs. And we want to go find them. So they're going to Denver and Utah, Salt Lake City. They're going to Austin,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. All right. So this is how it is, right? So if you were Pepsi and what I just described to you was Coke, what would you do, right? What would you do? How would you flip it or reframe it so that you could get the same results Pepsi got 30, 40 years ago, right? I'm thinking that Nebraska, by injecting that word W,
right,
or just that letter W into the first syllable of the word Nebraska, that all kinds of things kind of unfold, you know, or at least possibilities, implications.
Right. You know, it's implication of
that's what it is.
something fresh and new and
yes. Somebody say, what's new in Nebraska? You know, what's going on there? Well, a lot of new things are happening, you know, and it'd be an easy thing to pull off. Now, the quick question is this, and I have presented this to a couple of the leaders around our state,
okay,
and got generally pretty favorable feedback. I think implementation is part of the issue.
Right.
Right. So let's talk about here.
Okay.
Now, we got a little essay here that I think you've just briefly skimmed.
Yep.
And on the third page of that essay, I'll just ask you to go right to that. You can see there's 9 key points.
9 points.
Yeah.
Right.
And these are the implementation points. And I think this is where people say, well, it's a cool idea, but how are you going to do it, right? So I'm going to start off right at the very top. I think training, and this is the hard part, how do you convince a successful company in Scottsbluff, you're in Omaha, or call some guy in Wayne and say, you don't know me, but I'm telling you, you are in a routine, you are in a rut, I'm going to get you out of that using some of the thinking that's in Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup, right? He talks about entrepreneurial thinking and all that.
right.
Not an easy thing to do, but that's what has to be done.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, you know, all these companies, here's 20, 30, 40, 50 companies, and they were doing this and this and this, and then they brought in training, they started thinking differently, see? And now they're doing 15%, 20% better in revenue, we'll say revenue, than they were, a couple, 2, 3 years ago.
But individually, companies have to feel a need.
They have to feel the need.
To embrace something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's pretend you're on the phone and you represent my company. And you're on the phone and you're saying, Lynn, I'm going to get some appointments out there. You can go out there and pitch them, and we're going to get these training things going.
Right.
Right. What would you say to somebody who says, Bruce, thanks for calling, but, we're doing okay. We seem to be doing okay. What would you say? You say, I'm talking about Nebraska now. We got to think about this. I mean, would you mention the talent attraction thing? Say, we're losing people. You're not going to be able to find sharp people for your executive suite in 5 or 10 years. Would you say that, or would they say, I'm not worried about all that. I just want to make the profit today and go home? What would you say to that?
Off the top of my head, I think I would try to talk about the future, the long term, down the road. You have to, right now everything might be fine, but you have to be thinking about where is the talent pool for down the road, where's the innovation for down the road, because you're going to have to meet the competition down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have something to offer and be fresh with that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, let's talk about money. What would you think if you got in the car, say you're on my team.
Okay.
Bruce, hey, today's the day you're going to drive to Norfolk today.
Right.
And you're going to go out there and we're going to cement the deal. This is a company, let's say, that does $10 million in sales a year.
Okay.
Kind of a medium-sized firm in the state of Nebraska. And they say, look, I want to have I'd have 5 to 10 guys and gals in your training program. And you say, well, I'm going to come out here once a month. I'll come out here and we'll do a half a day, maybe 2/3 of a day for a training session. You pay for lunch, and I'll get here and do the whole deal.
Right.
Yeah? And I work with Lynn and I have all the materials. And he says, great, that sounds reasonable. And how many times are you going to come out here? And say, well, 6 to 12 times, we'll say. Might come for 6 months, or if you want to really kick it, maybe come once a month for a year. What do you think a company who does $10 million in sales and kind of is open to the training, can see some value, what do you think they'd be prepared to pay for 6 months of training from WOWBiz Growth Dynamics, hosts of WOWBiz Nebraska? And here's the thing, what if we are linked to or working with the Economic Development Department in Lincoln, Nebraska? See, that's a big if.
Right.
Right, that adds some credibility, of course, a little bit. It's an interesting question. Do you have any idea?
Would it be, I'm thinking percentages of their...
Percentages. Out on the East Coast, a friend of mine does training for corporations. I said, what do you charge? He says, I charge $200 to $250 a head per attendee for a half day, like a half day session. So if he has 10 people, that's $2,500, something like that. But I'm going to come to the field and say, look, I don't care if you have 2 people or 25 people in the room. We will offer you the same value, the same price. Kind of interesting. Yeah. It's a tough number.
It is a tough number.
I'm
thinking, I don't know, 1 or 2%. I mean, possibly. If it's of that type of that level of.
Yeah, it's senior level stuff.
Yeah.
Innovation training, change management training, marketing training, research. Let me tell you what.
I'd also ask what they're doing currently.
Oh yeah, I got to have an orientation session.
Because are they doing anything at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't doing too much.
Yeah, probably not.
Tell you what, we'll be right back with Bruce Arendt right here at WOWBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. Thank you so much for watching us. Here we are digging right into the next chapter. It's all related to the evolution of Blueprint Nebraska. Many of you are listeners here. You know that Blueprint is kind of the defining strategic plan for what the state wants or thinks it wants to become by 2030. So it's a good, long, very ambitious plan, very ambitious. So somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to put boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. So we'll get back to you very shortly here. I just want to thank you for watching and tell you about Curzon Promotional Graphics. Of course, they're a longtime sponsor of WOWBiz Nebraska. Curzon handles all graphical needs, the smallish things, massive signs on the outside of your building, everything in between. They come up with the ideas if you need that. They do the production. They give you lots of great choices, and the pricing is extremely competitive. So Curzon, Curzon Promotional Graphics. Also, Alpha Tech One. We've talked about them before. They're an outstanding computer repair operation. They come to your house, your office, pick the stuff up, tell you what it's going to cost to fix it, deliver it. You're still sitting there reading the paper, looking at your phone. Boom, boom, boom. That's exaggeration. You know what I'm talking about. They're very fast, they're very convenient. So we thank them so very much. Please consider Curzon and Alpha Tech One if you're in the market for those services. Yeah, and we're very grateful for their help.
Good companies.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to just wrap up here briefly, and then we'll go on to a couple other things.
Okay.
Yeah. So Blueprint Nebraska was launched by former Senator Jim Smith as the executive director. Brian Sloan, who's the new guy at the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. Some wonderful people. I think 300 business owners, as well as mayors and some other VIPs across the state. And all of them worked very hard, and they got a lot of tremendous grassroots feedback, and they produced quite a plan.
Right.
And I've had the opportunity to skim it a couple times and have it explained to me, because I need a little bit of help to get through all the overlapping considerations. But it's very good. But the question I think everybody out there in the state of Nebraska that's in the business community, they are saying, how are we supposed to actualize
like, now
this?
what?
Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're hoping that WOWBiz Nebraska, Nebraska as a theme will come together, and we'll be able to do some things with them and really make a difference in this state's future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it applicable.
Make it applicable, put boots on the ground, right. as I mentioned before. That seems to be the phrase. People love the phrase because they like the notion of, maybe it's because we're agricultural,
Yeah, but it's action-oriented.
It's action-oriented. Get out in the field and make it happen. No more theory. So thank you so much for chatting with me about that.
Now, it's very interesting.
It really is. And by the way, before we segue into our next exercise, which I think will be fun, because you're such a bright guy and so thoughtful, but I do want to point out to our audience here, this is Fast Company Magazine. Obviously, that's an award-winning magazine, been around since 98, 99, something like that. But this, I think, must be possibly the most provocative cover I've ever read. And I try to read them on a regular basis. And here it says, right here, it says, capitalism is dead, long live capitalism.
Huh.
Now, if anybody wants to get a quick lesson in copywriting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
All right, so provocative.
That catches your eye.
You go, oh my goodness, you got to read it, right? You got to read it. And so I'm going to go in here to the publisher's quick, I come look on the inside,
right.
See what they have to say and so on. And this talks about, it's called Capitalism for Everyone is the lead-in essay from the publisher of the magazine, or the editor, I suppose. And he's talking about a very interesting idea, which is the massive inequality that has occurred in our society. We have healthcare issues, affordable child care, major issue.
Yeah.
Climate change continues to become a bigger and bigger issue. People can't deny it anymore. And so the business community is sitting around going, what do we do with this?
What do we do with this?
How do I respond to that? And interestingly, the philanthropic community is coming to the party. And this gentleman right here, his name is, he's with the Ford Foundation, his name is Darren Walker, very brilliant man. And so he talks about the new capitalism. And essentially the new capitalism is capitalism with heart, capitalism with soul.
With a philanthropic.
A philanthropic skew, who really take the greater good, serving society responsibly and so on, seriously.
Interesting. Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is.
I think this is one of the hottest topics, along with culture and higher purpose. That's a whole other issue. But these two issues, if somebody said, boy, tell me about something that is really kind of bubbling to the surface, trying to get people to think about self-actualizing as employees in the culture, that's one. And then trying to get business leaders to come together around this notion, and not just lip service, but actually doing something to help capitalism be a positive for everybody, not just the top 10% of us.
Well, and so many of the younger employee base, the millennials, want to work for a company.
I think millennials are the catalyst.
Yeah, they want to work for a company that has some heart and some vision for doing good.
But it has to be authentic. You
has to be authentic, yeah. It can't
have to
just be
follow
lip service.
through, and it actually has to happen.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to reach down here and step out of frame here in this camera.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite books, and I've occasionally looked at it as when I'm in a period in my career, and this has happened a number of times, where I'm a little unsure about what I'm doing or where I'm going. Like this moment right here. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so what I want you to do, this is full of wisdom kind of quotes.
Okay.
That relate to your career and finding a job and having a good attitude about it and so on. Now, not every page has a quote, but just about all the pages
So
have
Zen and the art of making a
Zen
living.
and the art of making a living.
There is another book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
know-
that
I
was
know
that
that
was.
one,
I
yeah.
read that. I read that. I've only skimmed this. That was back when I actually had time to read a book.
So-
now I just skim through.
So they have pull quotes in here. You want me just to pick a pull quote?
Yeah, well, just kind of doing some random deal, and you'll find a page soon.
Very soon,
Yeah, right.
as the clock is ticking.
Well, that's okay.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of quotes in there, and I want to see what you are. You're a catalyst for metanoia.
Is that like being annoying?
I'm going to tell you what metanoia is later, but let's go on.
Like annoyance?
Yes.
The importance and unimportance of the self cannot be exaggerated. Wow. I'll read that again. The importance and unimportance of the self cannot be exaggerated.
You know, that reminds me of a quote I heard a long time ago that's kind of like that, which is, everything is important, nothing is important.
Yeah.
It kind of goes along that same line.
It is, yeah.
But I'm going to tell you what I think that means, and it's very profound that this would come out, because I've been reading about this kind of thing recently.
Okay.
It has to do with the ego, right? Very interesting thing. So many business leaders, whether they know it or not, their behavior is dominated by their ego. Mm-hmm. The ego impacts the intellect. And so the intellect is what tells stories, comes up with stories and all kinds of stuff, and it's overthinking. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so they make themselves miserable because their ego forces them to dream up all these negative ideas, right? And think that they're in trouble, and they're not really in trouble at all. But I'm just saying, the ego drives unnecessary, pointless, and even negative thinking.
Or it could work the opposite way.
That's true. I
To
want
where you
to
become-
hear the justification for that.
Because you could also become arrogant
Yes.
in thinking that you're bigger than you are.
It's right. So,
And be self-deceived, thinking that, it could be.
yes, no, you're on absolutely the right track. There are
Anyway.
many people that have those problems.
Right.
Someone told me the other day, real estate. The guys that make, or gals that make a lot of money in real estate, they're encouraged to build up their ego and to be really. But a lot of them, if you talk to them privately, or if they miss a sale, have very low self-esteem.
Oh, you could be. It's very deflating.
Deflated. So there you go.
Should I
All
take another one?
Let's do another one. Yes.
Okay. Ooh, that came quickly.
Yeah, and there it's coming right to you now.
Okay, I'll do this one.
Yeah.
Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of the imagination is incalculable.
Oh my goodness. Well, we could. I'm going to have
That's
you tell me what you think about that, because you and I are both consider ourselves creatives. So.
I'm going to read it again.
Yes.
Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of the imagination is incalculable. That is actually a great quote. Everything, I would say everything in the creative world, everything that when you enter the creative realm, it has to, the core or the base of it has to be your imagination, your fantasy. When I sit down to write or to do art, it all comes from that imagination kind of thing. That you have to have that. If you don't have a good sense of play and imagination inside of yourself, it's impossible to create.
I think you just said the key word with play. And that's a very strange thing, because in the world of business, we're told, stop playing around.
Oh.
But really, innovation and imagination are dependent upon a sense of freedom that goes along with playfulness.
Yeah, and play is actually a real.
That's powerful.
It's being scientifically studied now.
Oh, I know.
As for adults as well as kids, and there's really something to the power of play.
And the absorption of it. Do you know what's the opposite of play? I'm going to give you because play is really it's a complex idea. It's a complex idea. Yeah. What gives you a sense of joy at the moment. But I'm going to tell you what is the opposite of this. Is also a very complex idea, and it kills play, and that is doubt. Doubt is possibly the most
stifling,
complex, because people justify it. They say, well, I should doubt that. I should doubt this. That's naive and da-da-da-da-da. And I doubt the value of it.
It squelches the sense of play, though.
Right. And doubt also kind of drains your confidence.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and you can't be you can't be playful or imaginative if you don't have confidence.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't sit around and say, "Well, this really sucks, but I'm going to think up this idea." You don't think like that.
No.
No.
You have to believe in it, or at least, step out on that limb.
Yeah, see what happens, and there's nothing's gonna hurt you, or nothing bad's gonna happen, or you might be spending an hour of your time. You could be making money somehow.
But you know how it is.
But you're playing.
When you're trying to think up a concept or idea, you might be jotting down, or you
Like
might be-
Nebraska?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You might be writing out or sketching out dozens of ideas.
That's correct.
Throwing things at the wall, see what sticks.
Right. No, that's
But you have to be
interesting.
confident about that.
Yeah. That's a very interesting thing. The interplay between play and doubt and its impact on imagination and fantasy and vision. Now, is vision, in your opinion, you have less than a minute here, is vision dependent? We have visionaries, in our world of business.
Right.
Does a visionary have to be an imaginative person, or not necessarily?
I think you'd have to be to a degree.
Yeah.
I think you have to be able to embrace a vision. You have to be able to imagine that it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you have to be able to talk about a vision for it to come true. A lot of people say, well, we had really good numbers last year, so here's my vision. We're going to do even better next year. There I go. I don't think that's imagination. I don't think that's vision.
No.
Vision is the ability to talk about how people are going to feel, or the interactions as this thing unfolds, right? We know that it's a play with not a clear ending.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce Aaron, that has been, that's great conversation, right? Great stimulus. This is how we tap into your formidable brain. By the way, formidable. By the way, you don't know what metanoia is.
No, I don't.
I'm going to tell you real quick in 10 seconds.
Okay.
Metanoia is a massive transformation of your mindset and how you think about yourself in life. Metanoia. It's an Aramaic word.
Is it?
So ancient.
Ancient, yeah.
Absolutely. But I use the word, I flip it around now like I just dreamt it up yesterday. It's an ancient word. Now, WOWBiz Nebraska is not an ancient word.
No.
See how the segue went? It's kind of rough.
That was smooth.
Not really very good. I'm Lynn Hinderocker. I'll see you next time on WOWBiz Nebraska. Bruce Aaron will probably be here. I'll grab him, make sure he comes. We might do this Zen and the Art of Making a Living one more time. It's that good. At least it might be. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.